So I know I say this in a lot of videos, but you're going to want to watch. I'm talking from the minute one to the very last minute of this video because we're talking about the advent of time travel. Okay, you think I'm joking. The advent of time travel, which is now coinciding with OpenAI summoning aliens. This is their words, summoning aliens with AI and creating stargates. All of this happening all at once. Okay. So if you think I'm making any of this up, I promise I'm not. Minute one to minute end. Okay. And if you remember at some point that you're like, I really enjoyed this video, then why don't you just subscribe to the channel, help your boy out, and like this video and share it with everyone because I don't know. This is one of the most insane. This actually is the most insane video I've ever done. And I mean that genuinely. Like I had no idea any of this was going on. So all I can say about this video is buckle up. Okay. I mean that in a very real sense. Okay. Because we are now going to be talking about multiple topics that are like the most fascinating things possible and also the most terrifying things that anyone could possibly imagine because we're talking apocalypse level stuff. Okay. So, one thing that we're going to be covering is the fact that apparently it just came out that Sam Altman admitted that we are building AI to communicate with alien races. Okay. That there's two different locations that are doing that, and we're just now building another one in the Middle East. Okay. So we're going to look at that to communicate with aliens. And how long do you think they've been working on that for? Right? How long do you think they've been working on that for? Probably for a while, which maybe would coincide with when suddenly they started talking to us about it in the public. We're all, why are they doing this? Right? All of these scientists are disappearing. Okay. All these gravity scientists are disappearing. Is it all connected? I don't know. But, okay, let me tell you something else that also might be connected. Okay. Do you know that in 2011, that there's a theory written about at Vanderbilt University that theorized that the Hadron Particle Collider could be the world's first time machine. Time machine. Time machine. Okay. Now, as we get into this story and look down in this article and actually get to wrap our brains around what their theory is, they thought that if this was successful, then you would be able to not send people back and forth, but you'd be able to send messages back and forth. Okay. Now just try to imagine what the implications of that would be on its own. Okay. Messages back and forth through a particle collider. Okay. Time machine. And then you start looking at two other stories related to this that we're going to start with right now. Okay. So check this out. Just now that we know that we're talking like mainstream Vanderbilt University. Okay. That was in 2011 when they were talking about this. And in 2009, okay, something happened to the particle collider. They couldn't figure out what was going on. And then they theorized that a time traveling bird came through to sabotage the collider. Okay. And listen, believe me, right after this, we are going for the jugular in terms of, like this for sure, of course, probably sounds like this is the big reveal as it relates to Hadron, time travel. That'll be right after this. Okay. So this is the thing to understand. People think they understand the way the world works, but they don't. Okay. You don't, I don't, regular folks don't. But the people who do, who are at the top level of the government or in top level science, private organizations, they understand it in a very different way than you. And they will tell you what they're actually working on. Like, what are they really working on? No one has ever answered the question in a way that anyone, could fundamentally understand of why are they doing this. The Hadron Particle Collider, if you don't know what that is, just a super quick background on exactly what the Hadron Particle Collider is, and then we're going to get back to the time travel because it's really important to understand. And remember, after this, okay, after I explain this, we're going to get to these indicators that time travel already happened. And one of them, I'll just tell you right now, one of them is someone who came back in time and claims to know exactly when we discover time travel. And it is starting to line up perfectly with a bunch of things that are actually happening in real time right now. So check out what the collider is first thing. All right, so here's a very quick couple minute thing that's going to explain exactly what this is. And keep in mind when you're watching this the amount of effort that it would take and the collaboration between countries to build this.
The most powerful place on Earth is tucked away inside of a network of underground tunnels that belong to the world's largest particle accelerator. It's called the Large Hadron Collider, and this machine takes some of the smallest particles known to man and collides them at speeds of 99.9999% the speed of light. To understand how the LHC works, you can break it down into three components that act like its body, brain, and heart. The body is the underground tunnels that form a giant circle that's 17 miles around. Physicists actually ride bikes to get to different parts of the machine. Inside these tunnels is an environment so empty, it's similar to what you'd find in the vacuum of outer space. And that's just the way physicists like it, because they need it to be completely empty so they know exactly what they're looking at when they start smashing particles together in the most energetic game of bumper cars imaginable. When the particles collide, the extreme energy produced in the event creates entirely new and different particles. And because these particles are too tiny to see with the naked eye, the LHC has 4 gigantic detectors, which are the brains of the outfit. Each detector weighs tens of millions of pounds, is comparable in size to the main hall in the Notre Dame Cathedral, and is by far the most complex structure of the LHC. These are what physicists use to sift through the messy leftovers after a collision to spot special new particles. But the detectors would have nothing to sift through if it weren't for the LHC's heart, which is the critical piece of technology that pumps the particles through the tunnels at such incredible speed.
17 miles that all look like what you're looking at on the inside. Who would build this? Who would contribute to this size of a project if it was like, oh, hey, we just want to see what these particles are? There's something bigger that they're doing, and I've always known that on a common sense level.
The particles are moving so fast that they complete 11,000 laps around the 17-mile loop every second when the machine is running. The heart is a series of more than 1,000 super chilled magnets that are colder than outer space itself, making the LHC the largest cryogenic system in the world. These magnets are chilled to negative 456 degrees Fahrenheit, because at these temperatures, physicists can generate strong electrical currents that power the particles through the LHC tunnel. Without these cold temperatures, there wouldn't be enough power to generate the types of high-energy collisions you need to disassemble particles into their smaller, more fundamental components. The most important part about the LHC is that it's uncovered an entirely new world, the realm of the extremely tiny. In this world, there are physical forces that are trillions upon trillions upon trillions of times more powerful than the force of gravity. And it's these forces that bind the quarks that form the protons and neutrons that make up the atoms of all the matter we see in the universe.
Question, very important. When you've seen movies like, what's the one, the Chris Nolan one about space with Matthew McConaughey? I can't remember, but they, a very real scientific thing from that movie is that when they get to these other planets and the gravitation or the gravity is so different on the planets that when you go onto the planet, you'll experience an hour. You will experience an hour on that planet. And on Earth, they just experience 25 years. Okay. Now, if that is true, then that means that gravity must have a direct impact on time, right? So if they're saying that they're creating things that have trillions and trillions and trillions of times the gravity on Earth, and we're talking about time travel, that seems to line up. And now we get back to these stories of time travel and all of that related to what we've been talking about. And then we're going to get to the guy in a second. Look at this, okay? There are 25 countries that have contributed to that project. 10,000 scientists. I'm sorry, 100 countries. 10,000 scientists. You're telling me that all of them went all in on this because they're like, yeah, we just want to see if we can discover this particle. You know, we want to find this particle or the, you know, the Hadron Briggs or whatever. There has to be a larger stated goal than that. Has to be. Has to be. Why would everybody be contributing to this? Okay. Now, coming back to this story about the time traveling bird, right? It's like, all right, well, so tell me about it. Sometime on November 3rd, supercooled magnets in Sector 81 outside began dangerously overheat. Scientists rushed to diagnose the problem since the particle accelerator had to maintain a temperature colder than space. We talked about all of that. Okay. So while most scientists would write it off as a freak accident, two esteemed physicists have formulated a theory that suggests an alternative explanation. Perhaps a time traveling bird was sent from the future to sabotage the experiment. See that? See? Okay. This is in Time magazine. Beck Nielsen of the Niels Bohr Institute in Copenhagen and Masao Ninomiya, sounds Japanese, for the Institute of Theoretical Physics in Kyoto, Japan. There you go. Have published several papers over the past year arguing that the CERN experiment may be the latest in a series of physics research projects whose purposes are so unacceptable to the universe that they are doomed to fail, subverted by the future. Okay? It's not me coming up with this. And at the end of the day, when they are writing that, okay, when you have the smartest physicists in the world writing a thing like that in published papers, that's what this actually is. It has to be. Okay. Like, you think that they would just write, oh, hey, look, if that wasn't one of the stated goals, why would they be? What do you think that they're going to sacrifice their global reputation with some crazy theory about time travel sabotage? Of course not. Okay. Which brings us to this. Okay. Which brings us to this. So CERN and the 2000s acclaimed time traveler timeline weirdly coming together. Okay. Around the 2000s, there was an acclaimed time traveler, John Titor, that claimed that by year 2036, CERN had figured out how to time travel. This would sound completely ridiculous if the timelines weren't matching up. As many of you know, CERN wants to have built an even larger particle accelerator by about the year 2035 to 2040. Oh, hey, I wonder if the advent of AI could potentially, I don't know, speed up the timeline and make it that much more effective. Like, I'm talking the real AI, the ones we don't have access to, like the really most advanced stuff. I don't know. Maybe. Is that possible? Very. Okay. So this is right within the 2036 area. It's creating, if creating a larger particle accelerator could, in theory, create a small black hole. This opens up a window of infinite possibilities. That's also from that movie. Interstellar. Huge black holes are thought to be impossible to escape because of the ridiculous amount of gravity. But what about a small one? We are unsure what would happen or where it would lead to it in a small one. I am by no means an expert in the field, but I would simply like to point this out. The timeline is matching up even from a prediction from 22 years ago. Elon Musk could know what something like this could lead to, and it's very plausible dangers, therefore turning down the recent request CERN made to him, requesting a large quantity of euros to build this new accelerator. Okay. And honestly, I have long entertained the idea that certain people that are kind of out in the world, like people we know of, are, I mean, honestly, most of the time when I've thought about it, that I have thought about them as like, maybe they're, I don't know, like maybe they're like aliens or something. But time travelers makes a lot of sense. Or the recipients of messages from the future, where you're like, how are they doing this? Like, how do these people keep on doing this? I believe somebody as intelligent as Elon has taken the dangers into account, because as much interest as has been shown into outer space and science, he declined their request. Mm-hmm. What about a Stargate? You ever think about that? You know, how about a Stargate? Remember that movie? What if that's what we're trying to do? Different dimensions or time travel. A research project that could forever mark him in history books if something were to be figured out with that accelerator. Now, let me pose a theory that literally just popped into my mind right now. Has anybody ever thought to themselves, what the hell is Elon talking about Mars? Like, what is he talking about? Seriously. Like, he's obviously one of the smartest people alive. And I love when dumbbell political commentators like Kyle Kalinske are all, oh my God, Elon is one of the smartest people alive. The guy has like blah, blah. You guys should watch that fucking idiot talk about Elon sometime. It's hilarious. You're all, hey, dude, you give your always consistent opinions on the internet for a living, you know, just like me. But I'm aware that I'm in no position to question the intelligence of Elon Musk, which makes me smarter than Kyle right there. Okay. But anyway, my point is, in what universe could we be colonizing Mars? How would Mars ever be more conducive to human life than Earth? Well, if Earth does, but it's a barren desert with the water. There's no water. There's no nothing. There's no topsoil. It's freezing. What are we talking about? I've always been like, what is he talking about? Okay. What if this is why? What if this is why? What if because he knows that AI is going to be our undoing? What if he knows that the particle collider is going to be our undoing? And so he's trying to drive us in the direction of dumb stuff that is pointless endeavors, that he's trying to protect us from this stuff. I'm very much aware that it could also be the quantity of money, but I find this very unlikely. Elon showed some level of concern or fear of them in a tweet recently, tweeting, calling the particle accelerator demonic technology. Yes, I may have been just a meme, but I believe there could be some truth behind that. I would like somebody to expand on this if possible. Demonic technology. And we all know that Elon was trying to make AI not happen. He was in the mix with Sam Altman, desperately trying to keep that as a non-profit. Okay. Trying to keep that as a non-profit. So, you know, we've talked time travel. Now let's talk about the AI summoning aliens. I feel like I called that, right? Like the other video I did last week where I was like, hey, could this be a Trojan horse for aliens? What if, I'm going to put it all together. What if AI is the Trojan horse that the aliens are giving to us, and the particle collider is some kind of Stargate that is going to usher in the invasion? They're coming from another dimension as opposed to somewhere very far away that they would just fly here. Just something to think about. But don't worry, because Sam Altman is communicating with aliens now.
Genuinely summoning aliens, and Sam has added one in the Middle East. During the Biden administration, Sam Altman, the founder of OpenAI, explored getting a security clearance to join classified AI policy discussions. But staffers at a government contractor helping with the vetting had concerns about his foreign entanglements. One emailed that Altman had been raising, quote, hundreds of billions of dollars from foreign governments, and that, quote, the UAE recently gifted him a car. I assume it was a very nice car. The only person I can think of who ever went through the process with this magnitude of foreign financial ties is Jared Kushner, and the adjudicators recommended that he not be granted a clearance.
Even when I'm not trying to do a video on these guys, you run up against foreign entanglements and corruption, of course. You know, let's wrap this thing up, you know. May as well get super scared.
Altman withdrew from the process. This is one of many new details in my investigation into Altman and OpenAI, which you can read in the New Yorker. Link in bio.
Hey, by the way, in case you guys forgot about this, owned by Microsoft, owned by Bill Gates. Nice. Exactly who I would want in charge of this kind of thing.
A senior Biden administration official told us Altman and his Middle Eastern alliances, quote, raised a lot of red flags for some of us, and that, quote, a lot of people in the administration did not trust him 100%. To build AI at the scale Altman wanted, he needed money that few entities on Earth possess. And the company considered extraordinary plans to achieve that. According to internal documents,
You mean like partnering with the US government, and that deal just happened? And who's the president now? And Jared Kushner, you guys say that something about Kushner and him took money from the same people? Gee, I wonder who it could be.
the highest levels of the company once considered auctioning off access to advanced AI models to governments, deliberately playing world powers like China, Russia, and the US against each other. This was actually presented to an investor. One junior researcher remembered thinking, quote, this is completely fucking insane. OpenAI says this was just one of many ideas batted around, and it was dropped after some employees threatened to quit. Altman.
Oh, do you mean like the kid that did quit and was going to whistleblow on OpenAI and then, supposedly died by, by himself in the shadiest one of those I've ever seen? Can't even show anything about it. I've done 2 videos on it and they both got 18 plus. So we'll just, just another dead whistleblower, who just suddenly, he's all ready to, he's going on a birthday trip with his friends. He's all set to meet with investigators, and he's also going to speak to this big college thing in about a week. But out of nowhere, he's happy over the weekend with all of his friends, and then he gets home and he's all, you know what? I think I don't care about the future of humanity anymore. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to I'm out of here. Yeah, right.
Connected with Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. After that monarch's alleged role in the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi came under scrutiny in 2018, Altman publicly distanced himself. But we spoke to a policy consultant who remembered that behind the scenes, Altman's question wasn't whether it was wrong to fundraise from bin Salman, but, quote, can I get away with it? He was also aggressively courting the United Arab Emirates, which made national security officials nervous. The UAE has reportedly leaked American technology to Beijing. It's also a repressive, authoritarian state. Some officials worried it could commandeer an American-owned data center and build disproportionately powerful AI. Now, the relationships that gave Biden administration officials pause are a boon under Trump. On Trump's second day in office, Altman and Trump announced Stargate.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. What did you just call that? Well, I'm sorry. What did they call that again? Stargate? Okay. Being right all the time hurts my head sometimes, especially when it comes to this stuff. Hey, is this who you want in charge of making decisions that could lead to, the extinction of the extinction of humanity? Yeah, okay, yeah. Given what's going on in the Middle East right now, it's like, yeah, I try. He's probably thought this out really well.
A $500 billion plan, partially Emirati funded, to build a vast network of AI infrastructure across the US, which has since expanded to include a huge data center campus in the UAE. This kind of AI capacity is shaping the balance of power between nations and all of our security.
Project Stargate. Really? I didn't even know about that. Okay. You watched me come up with the Stargate idea, and then you watched me 20 minutes later, Project Stargate. Of course,
Security. One former OpenAI executive said, quote, we're building portals from which we're genuinely summoning aliens. The portals currently exist in the United States and China, and Sam has added one in the Middle East. It's just like wildly important to get how scary that should be.
Summoning aliens. Wait a minute. Does that mean I was right in my last video also, where I said that? Doesn't it seem like this came out of nowhere when all of these scientists are like, we have no idea how it works? Well, then where did it come from? How are we doing this if you don't know where it came from?
Read my full investigation for more.
So that is from, whoops. That was from Ronan Farrow. Okay. Ronan Farrow. Should go check out his stuff, because that is one of the wildest things. Terrifying, man.